It's Thursday, August 25th, and this is now on H&N.
Something I've never seen before.
A patient is dead and a paramedic critically injured after an apparent explosion in an ambulance.
The FBI search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate lands back in court. I'm Elise Preston with the latest in the legal battle to unseal the document justifying the search.
And in a new court filing, we're finding out who Catherine Kaneohe blames for ruining her marriage. All these stories, plus we're still talking about those summer travel troubles. Who should you be pointing the finger at? The airlines or the feds? It really depends on who you ask.
First, I would say we're doing everything we can.
We're going to go into the details coming up on This Is Now. Getting started with this breaking news. New video of murder suspect Tony Johnson, who also goes by the name Samuel Carter, just made his first court appearance. Police say he approached a couple in Chinatown at a bus stop last Friday night and allegedly shot a woman in the head. 24-year-old Alizea Agresor Ayala died. Her family says she was 4 months pregnant and the baby did not survive. Johnson's bail is set at $2 million. We're going to have more about this story coming up on later editions of H&N.
And we're also following another big story. A patient was killed and a paramedic was critically injured overnight when an apparent explosion and a fire destroyed an ambulance outside a Kailua hospital.
Now, we are expecting to get some new details about this situation coming up at 2 o'clock in a media briefing with officials. We're going to stream that to you live on your H&N digital platforms. But for now, let's get the very latest from our Casey Lund.
Aloha and good afternoon from Kailua. This all unfolded right here outside of Castle Hospital around 8 last night. We want to warn you before we get to some of the video that we have into our newsroom. Some of it is disturbing to see, certainly given the circumstances, as we learned that 91-year-old patient in the back of that ambulance passed away during all this. There was also a paramedic in the back of that ambulance who was taken to the hospital in critical condition at last check. What we know, again, is that Honolulu EMS crew was transporting that patient, a 91-year-old, for an unknown reason at this time to the hospital here at Castle when the back of that ambulance burst into flames for an unknown reason. We did hear from Dr. Jim Ireland, the director of Honolulu EMS, who was visibly shaken at a press conference last night. This is what he had to say after this all happened.
It's unusual and different for us to be the people in need of help. And we need your prayers and thoughts tonight for our team. And we had an incident tonight, and before I get started, I just want to thank the Honolulu Fire Department for their assistance tonight, our other EMS crews who came to the scene to help, as well as Castle Hospital that helped our crew. We had an ambulance tonight for reasons we don't understand, catch on fire, possibly explode prior to entering the hospital. This is something I've never seen before. The patient in the back of the ambulance passed away during the fire. Our paramedic, who's been with us 8 years, is currently in critical condition, and we've transferred him to Straub Hospital from Castle. And the other EMT on the ambulance is stable. He was unhurt.
It's been a very difficult night. We ask for everyone's prayers and thoughts for the family of the patient that's deceased and for the paramedic that's been injured in the line of duty. We will make sure that there's an investigation and try and determine, work with the Honolulu Fire Department and Police Department to determine what happened, and so that we can understand why and to take whatever steps are necessary to keep something like this from happening again.
Thankfully, the person that was driving that ambulance was able to get out of the vehicle and was uninjured during all of this. Again, we are trying to learn more details today about how this all happened, how that fire started, again, why that patient was being transported in the first place. But our thoughts are with the folks at Honolulu EMS going through this very difficult event last night, and of course the family of that 91-year-old patient who perished in the fire. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. You can find the latest online at hawaiinewsnow.com. Reporting in Kailua, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
New today, Catherine Kaneohe blames another prosecutor for breaking up her marriage. She filed a handwritten document with the court. She says prosecutor Michael Wheat lied about having a picture of her doing cocaine on her husband's work desk. Now, Louis Kaneohe was the HPD chief when the photo was reportedly taken. Catherine claimed Louis had been willing to forgive her for her opioid addiction even after an affair, but according to her filing, he was not willing to forgive her for, quote, disgracing his beloved office. Now keep in mind, she does claim this incident never even happened. He filed for divorce in 2019, but so far it does not appear that that has been finalized. Catherine Kaneohe is demanding that Wheat produce the picture or recuse himself. Gotta tell you, a warning about this next story. It may be disturbing for some viewers. New video shows an officer-involved shooting in Hilo from the police perspective. The police department released this body camera video of an incident less than 24 hours after it happened in a display of transparency.
Sir, put the knife down. Put the knife down. Sir, put the knife down. Put the knife down. Put the knife down. I will shoot you if you do not put the knife down. Do you understand me? Put the knife down. Take one more step. I'm shooting you.
Police say 41-year-old Jordan Kakatian was shot twice after he charged at officers with a 4-inch knife and refused to drop it. Kakatian was shot twice in the leg and later tased before he was subdued. Police say officers responded after people saw the man in the street cutting himself.
The officer that shot him was very composed throughout the whole video. The officers got close enough in to use less than deadly force to accomplish their mission, which is great. That means nobody got killed. It looks like he's kind of wanting suicide by cop. It happens way too frequently, and you're pushing a guilt on a police officer.
At last report, the suspect remained in custody at the Hilo Medical Center. He faces charges including terroristic threatening and attempted assault of a law enforcement officer. Want to turn things over now to Elise Preston with CBS News. She's got new details on that FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. Here's the report she just filed.
A federal judge in Florida has ordered parts of the affidavit used to authorize the search warrant for former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home be made public no later than noon Friday. Judge Bruce Reinhart ruled redactions the government submitted Thursday are necessary to protect the identities of witnesses, law enforcement agents, and uncharged parties. Some redactions are also masking the strategy, direction, scope, sources, and methods of the investigation. CBS News and other media outlets had sued to have the affidavit made public. Now the redacted version will be unsealed Friday.
Former President Trump has said he wants the full affidavit made public, but his attorneys have not made any request to the courts to make that happen.
Trump has called the search of his home politically motivated. FBI agents executed the search warrant earlier this month and found 11 sets of classified documents at the Florida estate. In a letter made public this week, the National Archives said it had been trying to retrieve the documents for months. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Another American lawmaker is visiting Taiwan. Senator Marsha Blackburn landed in the Taiwanese capital of Taipei Thursday. The Tennessee Republican's trip comes after U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb made separate visits to the self-governing island this month. These trips come at a time of heightened tension between the U.S. and China. China has threatened retaliation for them and even conducted large-scale military exercises near the island during Pelosi's visit. The U.S. is watching carefully for China's next move. Fears of a potential nuclear disaster in Ukraine are intensifying at this hour. This as the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was briefly severed from the national grid for the first time ever. Sam Kiley talked to Ukrainians living in fear of that potential nuclear disaster.
A fireman tests for radioactive fallout. It's an essential ritual repeated several times a day. It's safe for now.
All okay.
But the war and the shelling that puts this city on the front line of a potential nuclear disaster continues. The pattern over the last month has been that this city has been hit mostly at night, but in the last week, the locals are telling us that there's been regular attacks during the daytime, more or less at exactly this time of day, around about 3 o'clock. While communications are re-established, an officer explains where the shelling is coming from, pointing to 3 locations close to a Ukrainian nuclear power station captured by Russia in March. And now Ukraine's top nuclear official is raising fears that Russian trucks, which have been parked inside the plant's turbine hall, could be laden with explosives or cause an accidental fire.
And if it happens, then there will be a major fire in a turbine hall, and after that it can actually impact the reactor building.
Essentially, are you saying that that risks a meltdown of the reactor?
Yes, could be, because, you know, you cannot stop this fire if it goes.
There's been a renewed exodus of civilians living under Russian occupation in the towns close to Europe's biggest nuclear power plant. Safely in Ukrainian-held Zaporizhia, they consistently told CNN that Russian troops were bombarding locations close to the plant, shelling that Russia blames on Ukraine. The internet is switched off before it starts, probably so that nobody can film it. But we already know that if the internet is down, we should expect Russian shelling in half an hour. Amid international demands that Russia leave the nuclear power plant and demilitarize the area, the Russian shelling from the power station has increased. This is the result of one of 70 artillery and rocket strikes here in the last 24 hours, officials said. There's shelling every day. It just happened to hit here. Good thing no one was at home, or there would have been casualties, she says. Russia's responded to international demands to demilitarize the power plant by adding troops, inevitably increasing the chances of a disaster, whether by accident or design. Sam Kiley, CNN in Nikopol.
All right, look for more on that still very much developing story coming up on your evening newscast and on the CBS and NBC nightly news broadcast. Got to switch gears now. Let's take you outside. What do you say, Dylan?
It's a beautiful day out there.
Another
Overlooking
beautiful
Aloha
day in
Tower.
the neighborhood. Yeah.
Yes, very
Looking
nice.
towards the Reef Runway. And Billy V says there is one day specifically that's going to have some great weather this weekend. I'm going to turn it over to him with those details.
Of course, game day for the football team for UH is going to be on Saturday. That's going to be the best day of weather for the next 7 days. We've got light winds today. The trade winds are building back by Saturday. Regular trade wind weather. Windward and micro showers drifting leeward at times. The winds are going to be 15 to 25 miles per hour, and that'll be nice in Manoa. Sunday and Monday, we'll still have the trade winds. By Tuesday and Wednesday, those trade winds will go away. So we're coming up to some of the best days, weather-wise, of the week.
Parts of the world are moving from drought to downpours in a summer full of extreme weather. Scientists say human-caused climate change is to blame. CBS's Tina Kraus reports from London.
Dramatic moments like this are what scientists call climate whiplash.
This has been a summer of hydroclimate extremes with pretty wild swings between drought on the one hand and flood on the other.
St. Louis, Dallas, and most of Kentucky saw unusual dry spells in early July, then devastating floods swamped communities. The same thing happened in Yellowstone. And in China, the world's third longest river, the Yangtze, is drying up, a year after deadly flooding, revealing Buddha statues believed to be 600 years old. Rivers are shrinking in Europe, too, as the continent bakes in record heat. Last year, countries were dealing with unprecedented flooding. Scientists say it's the impact of climate change at work.
As the temperatures increase, the water vapor holding capacity of the atmosphere increases exponentially,
giving a weather system more water to dump, triggering downpours. Experts say there's one way to stop the whiplash.
The Earth is warming because of the carbon we're emitting into the atmosphere. The Earth will essentially stop warming almost immediately when we stop putting that additional carbon into the atmosphere.
Until then, researchers say climate change will stay on a destructive path, carving out a changing landscape. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Coming up tonight on the NBC Nightly News, an exclusive with Lester Holt. He takes us behind the scenes inside NASA, where you can feel an anxious excitement building. The Artemis launch is now days away, marking the first big step in the U.S. return to the moon. Tonight, Lester sits down with the director of the Johnson Space Center about the changes she's seen firsthand in her 3 decades at the space agency.
You sit back and ponder how far this journey has been, that you're going to put people of color, you're going to put women on the moon. You are an African-American director of this center. What are your thoughts about all that?
Well, it has, 30 years, and a lot has changed. It's just amazing to me that in that time span, we have now so many additional women that are in positions across the agency, people of color doing many different jobs. And so with that, I sit back and I go, as a country, how much we've progressed. And now, to see us, that we'll be going to the moon, we'll all be going together. It's such a great, wonderful opportunity.
Again, this interview and so much more coming up tonight on the NBC Nightly News. Airs right here on KHNL at 5:30. Well, we thought things were getting a little better, but the summer travel troubles continue. Day after day, more flights are still getting canceled. CNN's Pete Montaigne takes a look at the blame game.
Another week of air travel pain across the country is turning up the pressure on airlines to perform, with the Labor Day rush fast approaching. This past Monday alone, more than 1,400 flights were canceled nationwide, the 4th highest of the summer. Both Southwest and American Airlines delayed more than 40% of all their flights.
Our flight was canceled yesterday. Now we're back again today. It was canceled this morning, and now we're back again.
United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby says hiring here at its training center in Denver has made its pandemic recovery quicker than others. Since the start of this year, United has hired 1,500 new pilots in hopes of alleviating staffing shortages and canceled flights. In total, U.S. airlines have canceled more than 44,000 flights since June.
All airlines are not created equal.
In an exclusive interview, Kirby put some of the blame back on the federal government. Last week, the Federal Aviation Administration said a shortage of air traffic controllers delayed flights into Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia by up to 2 hours.
Frankly, the bigger challenges are not the airlines themselves. They're all the support infrastructure around aviation that hasn't caught up as quickly.
Let me push back on that just a tiny bit, because United has had 5,000 cancellations this summer. What do you say to somebody who does see this as an airline issue rather than some other cause?
Well, first I would say we're doing everything we can to get the airline running reliably. We know that's the most important thing for customers. It's our number one priority. We had ground stops for the entire day. And when the FAA says you can't land airplanes at the airport, you're going to have delays and cancellations.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg insists air traffic control issues do not account for many cancellations this summer. In a letter to airline executives, Buttigieg says the level of disruption Americans have experienced this summer is unacceptable and is telling airlines to review their customer service commitments to passengers.
I'm calling on the airlines to step up their game before we have to do even more.
For United, that starts with training that focuses on quality, something I got to try in a Boeing 737 simulator.
Nice.
I feel like that was a little hard.
No, that was good.
Our growth plan, the most aggressive growth plan of any airline in the history of aviation, is really the driver behind the need for our pilots.
All right, thanks Pete for that update. What do you say, Dylan? We take a look at what cyberspace is talking about today, and a lot of people talking about this on our website, and it's sort of gross.
It's a little strange. Of course, hot dogs and popsicles are summer staples, but together Popsicles that taste like hot dogs? I don't know about it, but it is a thing for some reason. Introducing Oscar Mayer's Cold Dog, a frozen pop that tastes like a hot dog with, quote, both refreshing and smoky umami notes. You can see there's even a mustard swirl on it. The box says, quote, stupid or genius? Guess the answer is up to those who try it and fork over $2 at the small number of locations where the cold dogs are sold.
We were talking about this yesterday in the newsroom about our eating habits. We both are very willing to try many things. I'd try it. I can pretty much say I probably wouldn't like it.
It's a little strange.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The question is why? Why would someone need to think up, hey, let's make this?
I think people's curiosity drives their spending habits sometimes, and that's what they're counting on there.
I mean, I guess.
All right,
we'll go with it.
Yeah, let's move on to some good news now. And we have some really cool entertainment news to get to. Listen to this lineup. Mark Wahlberg, Kevin Hart, Regina Hall. They're all in a new comedy. It is called Me Time. We got Entertainment Tonight's Nichelle Turner joining us now with this behind-the-scenes look.
Aloha, Jonathan. With a cast this funny, you know Me Time's gonna make you laugh. And when Mark, Kevin, and Regina met with us, it was pretty clear they had a hard time keeping it together on set.
I know what to do. It's a life on our hands.
You're strangling him
I'm
right
not
now. You're
strangling him.
suffocating
He
him.
doesn't want to be held. Come on, buddy.
Now, is this what it was like on set? These two little giggle boxes, Regina here keeping the focus.
You think Regina's keeping the focus?
Yeah!
I keep it professional. Very.
We talked about it now.
No, Regina is the ringleader.
No.
She's the trouble. That's where the trouble comes from.
Yeah, it says the troublemaker himself.
These two here, focus, laser.
In Me Time, Kevin plays a pretty tightly wound stay-at-home dad who reluctantly goes to unwind at his pal's wild birthday party.
I told you could do it!
I love you, Huck! I love you! This movie's a good time.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for a better cast to work with.
I watched it with my whole family, and to see the kids be able to enjoy it as much as the adults, there's a lot of humor that goes a little bit over their heads, but yeah, very, very enjoyable.
And tune into ET tonight because we're on the ground in Nashville for the ACM honors, plus our Garth Brooks exclusive why he's channeling an Oscar winner for his new project. For Entertainment Tonight, I'm Nichelle Turner.
Awesome. Yeah, you can catch Entertainment Tonight right here on your H&N stations. It airs on KGMB at 6:30 right after our 6 o'clock newscast.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've also got some awesome local entertainment news out of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra.
Live performance is back, but the reality we're facing today is that audiences have been slow to return. The value of the HSO is high, but attendance at times remains low as the public struggles to reemerge and attend performances. If you are among those people, my friends, you are missing out.
An invitation from the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra today for the public to attend their new season of performances along with their regular performances. They are also launching a Hapa Symphony series that features local artists including Kaneohe Minor, Kaneohe, Raiatea Helm, and more. For full details on season tickets, head on over to our website.
Very cool
Love
stuff
it.
there. Yeah, that's going to do it for your almost Friday edition of This Is Now. Dylan, thanks for filling in for Ashley.
Of course.
Yes, appreciate it. Mark Carpenter is going to be back first at 4 on KHNL. You don't want to miss that. Don't forget, my friends, we are podcasting all the time here at H&N. Just search Hawaii News Now wherever you get those podcasts, and you can hear people like Dylan talking all the time in your car.
There we go.
Have a good
Who
one.
wouldn't want that?